Hey guys, this is just game 2 of the set from yesterday, where we showed game 1, and this is still, obviously Monte Cristo versus Tahidas, however you pronounce his name. As you can see here, Ash Noxus versus Thresh Nasus, which plays pretty much the same as old Endure, except with the addition of Thresh that can pull the Endures from your deck, basically. And so this is our deck has no healing, whereas they have some threats, but we have Flash Freeze to counter options like Atrocity and Nasus, so it becomes a lot more. Their win condition is a lot harder to pull off, but we do need to make sure we don't get blown off the board by options such as their caretakers or ones like that. So here he doesn't play the Icefell Archer because Icefell Archer is still going to be good later. As of yet, this is not too threatening. They're going to be able to have a lot of threatening turns. So for now, Icefell Archer can be saved. But now that they play second one, Icefell Archer basically blocks 4 damage right away, and you could say blocks 6 damage because now the 2-1 doesn't hit us in the face on round 4. Round 3 is pretty straightforward. You just play LeBlanc, and the simple reason you play LeBlanc over Trapper, even though LeBlanc doesn't block, is because you need to play LeBlanc sooner or later, and LeBlanc can't block. So you can play your blocking next turn, but because we have the attack token, we need to develop the LeBlanc as soon as possible, or else we basically have 2 cards that we're not really getting anything out of. Their first 3 turns are relatively slow, which is good for us because we do scale a bit better. And so here, he doesn't play the Omen Hawk because he doesn't want it to get pulled, I guess. But you should play the Omen Hawk just to save 2 Nexus health. Omen Hawk's blocking for 2 health is pretty much the best you're going to get out of it. This Sigil of Malice is very good because, first of all, if it connects, it means your LeBlanc is 7 out of 10. 15. But in general, the fact that his LeBlanc is going to die and he has to replay. So what he's doing is he's paying 1 extra mana to maintain the LeBlanc stacks, where leveling LeBlanc is really nice. The +1/+1 is useful. The generation of mirror images, if you get any, is insane. Whether you use it on Ash, LeBlanc, Assessor, or Hearthguard, they're all good. Obviously, Assessor being the best. Ash being also very good, assuming that Ash is at least 3 out of 5. But anyways, so here, basically, he's paying 1 extra mana to maintain the LeBlanc stacks, and this is a good trade-off. I would have played the Omen Hawk, but, it's not too big of a deal because Omen Hawk will most likely block 2 health later as well. But the thing is, because you have Hearthguard and Trappers, it's not of particular concern. The other upside to playing the not playing the Omen Hawk is if they had Bakai Reaper, they could have played it and it would have given them an extra stack. But overall, it is what it is. So here, there's 2 options, and this is actually a very critical moment because if he made the wrong decision on this turn, the game actually could have been very troublesome. Now, thanks to the fact that he has Assessor in his hand alone, it does mean that it is a lot less risky. But in general, because if he didn't have the Assessor in this hand and he made the wrong decision, he would have probably just straight up lost. But because thanks to the Assessor, it's not completely lost, but it's actually almost the difference between winning and playing the game. So in this position, he goes with the Trapper, which is really good. If he went with Hearthguard and then the opponent plays the Thresh, it's going to be pretty much impossible for us to prevent the Thresh from leveling up and attacking because it takes us 2 attack tokens to kill a Thresh. So being able to play the Trapper here, it's not just about having an answer for Thresh long term, but also about the fact that we have the flexibility of playing a second card, being able to remove an attacker if he does anything scary, being able to have an extra unit on the board developed is just very, very nice. And so playing the Trapper was really good. The thing is, as a blocker, the Trapper is just as good as a Hearthguard right now, and that's really important, right? Hearthguard gets to block once favorably, at least, and then from there he'll probably do something good. Now the other thing, the second Glory Seeker might get hit by something like a Vile Feast, but we also do have an Assessor. We might be able to draw an Elixir or something like that, and it works out just fine. Now, fortunately for us, we top decked the Yeti right away. If we didn't, this wouldn't have been nearly as one-sided. This actually made the game so much easier. Again, thanks to the fact that we have Assessor. If we didn't have Assessor, this game would still be on the table. But between the Assessor in our hand for next turn and top decking the Yeti right after we played it, it's just huge. Okay, so the Omen Hawk actually got Vile Feasted. Again, we could have saved it, not saved it, and just sacrificed it on turn 3 just to block 2 damage. Confirmation bias says it would have been better, but in general, I think it's just fine to trade Omen Hawk right away because your deck is going to use the board space. Your deck plays cards like Reckoning, so it's just not valuable as a blocker long term. So just cashing in on the Omen Hawk right away would have been preferable to me. So here, our opponent does this, which levels up the Thresh. But it does consume their attack token, which means next turn they won't be. We can still play the Glory Seeker and pull the Thresh. Now, you know, because we spent all of our mana, even if we top deck an Elixir, we can't use it to save our thing from a Vile Feast. But they didn't. They already used their Vile Feast, which helps. If they save that Vile Feast, we would actually still be in somewhat of a trouble, somewhat of a bit of a problem. But thanks to the fact that our opponent basically, okay, so even if they had the Vile Feast now and used it on a Glory Seeker, we would still be fine simply because of the fact that, well, first of all, they wouldn't have the Nasus, which means we would be able to swing full swing, and then we would get a bunch of mirror images. Well, we would get one mirror image, but it would be discounted, and then we can use it on the Assessor. We refill our hand, and then we can win with the sheer number of cards. But it looks really one-sided, but a lot of things went right. Right, so if they had the Vile Feast, they wouldn't have been able to play Nasus. Because they would have had to take one action, and then we can attack right away. And then even if they play Nasus after, we already got our discounted mirror image, and we can just draw a bunch of cards in the near future. Or we can use it on Ash. Either way, everything works out fine. Now, in this position, this is the first terrible blunder by him. This is just terrible. It's not going to cost him the game simply because Assessor draws 10 cards. But, you know, the fact that we're wasting 6 mana and 2 cards for something like this is ridiculous. The Nasus is not a threat. As long as the Nasus is only a threat when he's attacking, blocking, or using Atrocity. In all of those scenarios, you can counter those scenarios with Flash Freeze. And if we're going to use Flash Freeze anyway in those scenarios, we can always save Culling Strike for that time. We can, if they do something to react to our Flash Freeze, we can use Culling Strike as a response, and then they can deny it. That would be fine. The thing is, it costs them more mana to deny than it does for us to Culling Strike. But in this scenario, we're just tapping out of mana for no reason. We're giving up our ability to make any plays. We're giving up our threat of doing things. And so here they do deny it, which is technically fine. So this isn't actually still bad for us because we're still winning. We're ahead on the board. Their Nasus isn't big enough, but there's just no reason to do it, right? If we just pass because we're winning when we trade evenly like this, where we're down 2 mana and a card. We're even more okay with not making this trade, right? If we just pass and they pass, we're okay with going to the next round. Why would we want to down trade to go to the next round anyway, right? So we can always see what they do first. So in that position, you just start by passing and then see what your opponent does. If they pass, we're okay with it. If they don't pass, we're also okay with it. It doesn't matter what they do. Now, in this position, he considers using it on the Assessor. There's no reason to, because we can always play it next turn. We're not wasting the mana for it, and why not? If we're gonna do it anyway, why not get the Ephemeral unit to attack with? And also keep our mana and options open. And see, thanks to the fact that he didn't int, we do get to Elixir of Iron now, and we still get to do it next turn. So just don't kill your flexibility. If you can do it next turn anyway with no downside, just do it next turn. So in this position, you just open Ash. I mean, it's gonna freeze the Nasus for free. There's just no harm in playing the Ash. It's a situation where there's nothing he can do that will make this a bad play. Now, so here we troll chant, and here's another mistake. So here Ashe is 2 out of 5. What that means is that it's not going to level up, and if it's not going to level up, then you should use it on the best trades. If it's going to level up, then you can use it on the 2 attack unit just to basically make them unable to block even without using a frostbite. But right now, there's no reason to use it on the 2-1. It's much better to reduce all of their attacks so they have no good blocks, right? If they're all at 1 attack, or 1 or 2 attack, none of our units die, so it's just amazing. And in this position, you should just play the mirror image, and the reason is because you can only generate 1 mirror image per round, since you only deal damage during combat. You don't generate mirror images any way except combat. So what happens is you're gonna deal like 20 or 30 damage at a time, and you're not gonna generate mirror images. You're gonna generate a mirror image and discount it. So just use the mirror image so that you can get a new one. And yes, you tap below frostbite mana, but that's okay in this scenario. And the reason is because there is nothing they can do. The Ashe will frostbite the Nasus, and there is nothing else we need to frostbite. Especially if you attack with the Ashe first, so they can't even stack up their Bakai Reaper or somehow. But the thing is, Bakai Reaper should be 1 attack. But anyways, just use it on the Assessor. We don't need to frostbite. If Nasus was at 12 attack, we would need to hold mana for frostbite in case they atrocity when we play mirror image, since it's not burst speed. But as it is, just play the mirror image, generate a new one, and you frostbite the Nasus by attacking. Their atrocity is not scary. Just, and then we go next. Oh, what is that? So here we lost our Hearthguard for no reason. And then we also could have attacked them with an extra 5/4 Assessor. Their Nasus would have taken an extra 5 damage, just because they would have had to block it. Use it on the Ashe is technically fine too, but the thing is, it doesn't. There isn't really any upside to use it on Ashe over the Assessor in these scenarios. Well, actually, technically, a second Ashe would have frostbitten this, but drawing 6 cards actually. Drawing 6 cards is just better. You have a second Ashe anyway. 6 cards is just nutty. And then you not only do you have a second Ashe, but you also get a second mirror image to use on the Ashe if you want, or even the second Assessor, depending on what you draw. If it's really cheap, it's not really cheap. So actually, in fact, you drew a third Ashe as well. So here, this turn, the rest of the game plays out very straightforward. It's the most important thing is that he made a very critical decision correct, and that's round 5 when he had Hearthguard versus Trapper plus Glory Seeker. That was a really critical decision. It's minimal risk, where he gives up a minimal reward, which was getting 1 extra buff with Hearthguard. And he did get lucky by drawing the Yeti again right away, but it was correct either way. The minor mistakes after that doesn't really affect the game, because after that point he was already winning by so much. The main mistake would have been the flash freeze plus culling strike immediately, because it's a bad practice. You should never preemptively overcommit in a way where your opponent's answer requires a lot less out of them. And there's just no reason to go for it when you're not under any threat. Anyways, I hope it was a short, pretty simple game. It did end up snowballing, and he did get a bit lucky. The draws were nice, everything lined up, but it could have went bad, and it just didn't. So I hope it was still useful. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for watching.